We're giving you some updated Dynasty
Come
quarterback
on, baby. You
rankings.
already know what it is.
We're going top 25 tiers, and we are including the 2023 rookie quarterbacks
Oh boy.
within these rankings.
Oh
Do us
boy.
a massive favor. Drop a like to show some support.
Come on.
Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And I want you to comment down below. Who is a quarterback that you think will make a massive rise this year in rankings, a la Geno Smith, a la Daniel Jones?
Talk it up.
Okay. So this is difficult, right? Because 5 tiers, and I think tiers, there's less quarterbacks in tiers than other positions, if that makes
100%.
sense.
100%.
I think we tier them more closely than other positions. So why don't we start at tier 5 here?
Okay.
I got 2 rookies in tier 5, Badaki.
Okay.
And obviously, we need to know where these rookies are going to land. We need to know draft capital. But at the very end of my tier, I have Will Levis.
Yes.
You have him here as
I
well.
do have
Okay.
Will in here.
I
Correct.
have Kenny Pickett as well.
Yes.
This is an interesting conversation because when I was looking at these 3 guys, Anthony Richardson, who I also have in this tier,
Yes.
Kenny Pickett, and Will Levis. This is a tough decision between Pickett and Levis. Right now, if Will Levis was probably with the Pittsburgh Steelers, that organization with those weapons around him and that head coach and that history of, having successful quarterback play through an organization, it would be difficult not to lean Will Levis. We don't know where he's going to go.
Exactly.
I think Kenny Pickett is a safer play, but I think
Mhm.
he has a lower floor in the NFL. So is Levis and Richardson, I mean, it's probably an obvious question, but are they subject to change quite significantly after the NFL draft for you?
Yeah, 100%. I think the easiest one that we can put a name to for both of these guys, the team is, the Raiders, the Panthers, even the Falcons potentially.
Sure.
If either of these guys go to any of those teams, I think we'll probably feel really confident of where they're going. Panthers with DJ Moore and whoever they draft, with Frank Wright there. The Falcons with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I mean, the Raiders with Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, if he does resign, I think we'll be really happy, really, wherever these guys go. Do you take him over Kenny Pickett right now with that thought process? I'm not sure, just based off of what we've already saw from Kenny. He didn't get the full season. He struggled with concussions. And Mike Tomlin
went 7-2 to end the year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Went on a nice little run there, had some success.
And Mike Tomlin is a really good head coach. And the organization for the Steelers is like, how can you not bet on them? But at the same time, you're betting on the upside that Anthony Richardson and Will Levis has based off of, I guess you can just say what really sets them apart from Kenny is the rushing upside. Kenny can rush. But
specifically Anthony. Will have to see what his rushing, what it actually looks like in the NFL. Is he going to be someone that they draw up plays, or is it going to be more to get out of pressure and to convert on runs that way? But I agree. I mean, let's see where these players land. Obviously, this is subject to change. You're correct. I agree with that. Anthony Richardson is the one I put ahead of Will Levis. He is my quarterback 3 right now in the class. And I think both Anthony Richardson and Will Levis have huge bust rates. Like, they by far are probably the biggest boom busts that you're going to draft in your rookie drafts this year.
Yeah.
But Richardson's ceiling is just ridiculous. If every player in this year's draft reaches their absolute ceiling, I would say Anthony Richardson is probably 102, right behind Bijan Robinson. Right? I think Richardson has a higher ceiling than Stroud, higher ceiling than Young, higher ceiling than Levis. But obviously the floor is extremely low. But Richardson is one of those players. Yes, the touch is not there yet. The accuracy is not there yet. Didn't play with an incredible offensive line. Was under pressure a lot. Didn't have great weapons around him.
Right.
Kind of similar to Will Levis, right? But we saw this elite rushing upside with Anthony Richardson, the Cam Newtons of the world, the Justin Fields of the world, the Lamar Jacksons of the world. I'm not saying he runs exactly like Lamar Jackson, but this is a player who absolutely could have a 1,000-yard rushing season. And if we keep seeing him, but he get mocked to the Panthers in the first round, pick 9. If he goes to those Panthers with the 9th overall pick, he's starting day 1. There's no reason to sit him behind Sam Darnold.
100%.
And he probably has 800 rushing yards as a rookie and 5 at least rushing touchdowns. And let the rest of his game develop. So for fantasy, because we have to sometimes separate NFL from fantasy, and sometimes we have to not go so far that way either.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had one more player in this tier.
I do as well.
I don't know how you feel about this because we've been very opposite on this player. I feel almost let down, not by the player, but just by society, because we weren't able to see what he truly could have been.
Yeah.
That is Trey Lance. I have Trey Lance in this tier.
Yeah, I do have Trey Lance in this tier as well. I have Kenny Pickett at the very beginning of this tier.
Okay.
It's Kenny, Trey, Richardson, Will Levis for me. Just so you can have a visual of what my thought process is. I have Kenny first just based off of what we've seen, the organization. We've actually seen him play more than any of these three guys, right? Sure. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with this. But yes, on Trey Lance,
I can see where you're coming from.
We just don't know what Trey is right now. That the ceiling, it is very high, but at the same time, what's going to happen? Is he even going to be the starter? That's the question. Is he going to get traded?
Now. Looking better now as we keep hearing more details about Brock Purdy's surgery. Mm-hmm. That is definitely, if you're own Trey Lance, then that's at least comforting to hear. Obviously, bad for the player and Brock Purdy, but that is comforting to hear. I will say this. Kenny Pickett, to me, it's not an exact career comp, but in fantasy, he almost feels like a career Kirk Cousins to me, which is good, but I don't think Kenny Pickett is giving you a top 5 season. And again, that could change. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's giving you a top 5 season. Mm-hmm. All those other 3 guys, specifically Lance and Richardson, I think have that top 5 upside. So that's why I personally would have Pickett right behind Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson. But to meet us in the middle, let's just put Pickett right ahead of Richardson then. Mm-hmm. And kind of meet there in the middle. So
that's good.
I like that tier 5 though, man. I want Richardson. I want Richardson on some of my teams. Just especially if he gets top 15 draft.
All these guys, I mean, not all these guys, but Anthony and Will Levis specifically, all is going to based off draft capital. Mm-hmm. The conversation is different if they.
Who's your head coach? What's the history of success at the quarterback position? Exactly. What weapons are around you? What's your offensive line look like?
Everything is going to come into play. I mean, do they fall to the second round? Is he are they a late first round people somehow, some way? We just don't know. All those things are going to change the conversation on both of these guys. So it's very, very fluid. Very fluid.
Fluid's a good word.
That's the word.
Yeah. Fluids. Get some fluids in you. All right, on to tier 4. I got Daniel Jones.
Talk it up, man.
This tier 4.
Come on.
I can't put him in tier 3 yet because there's a lot of good names in this tier 4. Like this tier 4, I feel like tier 4 and above. Tier 5 is like these are risky players, unknown ceilings, maybe outside of Kenny Pickett, but they could be superstars. I feel like from tier 4 onwards, these are the guys that you should feel comfortable with.
Agreed.
Kind of building your rosters around.
Agreed.
So Daniel Jones, I would put as one of those players. I mean, great season, and the rushing upside from Daniel Jones was very intriguing this year. He finished as the quarterback 9, had 700 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. As a Saquon owner in the playoffs, it was really annoying to see him go off for like 36 points or whatever it was when I needed Saquon to give me some fantasy points. But hey, Daniel Jones. We keep saying it. Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown. Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs. What is Daniel Jones going to get? Is it going to be Brandon Ayuk? Is it going to be T. Higgins? I don't know. But they need to give him
somebody, please,
in that offense. Is it JSN? As a Giants fan, though, you have expressed concerns around Daniel Jones before. It feels almost abnormal to see a quarterback be successful in Daniel Jones with the Giants. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just... I'm not saying I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I'm not saying that I don't want him to succeed. I'm just more hesitant in the sense of, okay, there's so much that still needs to happen. Offensive line still needs to improve. Not one alpha person, wide receiver, is going to come in and be the guy. All the head coaching and the staff needs to come in and stay. But Daniel Jones has taken the necessary steps. And let me tell you this is also the first time, if I'm not mistaken, and if it is all said and done, he is coming back with the same exact head coaching staff and offensive coordinator, offensive playing call, all coming back for the second consecutive year, which is really exciting. So I think the ceiling is really high for DJ. Once again, he already finished top 10. You said it right. He finished QB
Yeah,
9 this
quarterback
year.
9. Yeah, quarterback
With
9. And
with
went
the
on a
wide
little run to end
receiver,
it.
does he squeeze into the top 6? Does he get wide receiver set? I
I
mean, quarterback
I
6,
don't
quarterback 7.
I don't think you guys get a T Higgins.
I don't
I
think
just
so
don't think the
either.
Bengals are gonna. I don't
I
think they're
don't.
gonna do
I
that.
think we'll definitely move into more of the draft, but I think we will get
Mm.
a day 2 wide receiver as a wide receiver 1.
Or into the first. I feel like Brandon Ayuk could be possible with how many
I
players
just
they've
don't
already
know if
paid in
Brandon
San
Ayuk is
Francisco.
going to set
I think
himself
I
apart.
think that could be great for Ayuk personally.
I think it could, but I
It's
don't
almost
know.
like think about what Tony did when he was the guy, but Ayuk can stay healthy.
I just don't think that he is the alpha wide receiver that we need.
Okay.
I
I think he
love
can
Brandon.
be
I
that for
like
you,
Brandon
but
Ayuk. I think he's a good complementary wide receiver too that is going to come in,
sure.
and change the game. But we'll see what happens.
Well, people aren't giving alphas away
People
anymore.
aren't giving off not nowadays.
All right. I also have Tua Tagovailoa in this tier.
Tua tags. Yeah, I have him here
Yep.
as well.
Tua is interesting because really the only reason you should not be all in on Tua is if you're worried about him being injured in the future.
Mm-hmm.
My stance on it is freak accidents happen. We play, well, not us. I mean, I'm not out there, but they play a physical game. People are going to be injured. Yes, he's undersized, but the league is each year finding more ways to protect their quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else is there for Tua. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Mike McDaniel. In any given game, you can go up and put out 40 points. I mean, quarterback 15 on the year, but keep in mind he only played 13 games. Where could he have been if he played?
He would have finished.
Quick maths.
He
Those other 4 games.
Yeah, he would have finished. If I did say this in our buy low videos with the quarterbacks and tight ends, and I brought Tua as a guy, he would have probably finished in the top 5, top 6, top 5 amongst
if you
quarterbacks.
extrapolate
Exactly. If you extrapolate his numbers, I mean, he was on pace to be a top guy. And if he would have finished without those injuries, the conversation around Tua would probably put him in a tier 2, tier 3 scenario. And we've been saying, well, we feel really confident because he has Jalen Waddle, he has Tyreek Hill, like you said, McDaniels or Mike McDaniel, and also whatever running back they could be acquiring in this offseason because they were decimated in that position until they got Jeff Wilson and kind of had a little stunt there. So
by the way,
love him.
Tua tags per game averaged more fantasy points per game than Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. I mean, that's a short list, but Dak Prescott. Have I said Dak Prescott?
That's big.
So, I think we should. I don't think we should be underestimating Tua, and I think he's a buy. We said to buy him all last offseason. I feel the same way this year as well.
Yeah, completely.
Okay. I also have Dak Prescott in this tier.
Dak is back.
Someone who probably cost his team games due to the interceptions and turnover-worthy plays. But from a fantasy perspective, he was still very, very good. I mean, that offense was still humming. Yes, he threw a lot of interceptions, was on track to throw like Jameis Winston type interceptions, the 30 for 30 type Jameis Winston, but still only played 12 games and had 23 passing touchdowns in only 12 games. So this is still a player, not old player at all. I think he probably gets extended in Dallas again because it's hard to find a player like that. And you have to pay a premium for a quarterback who can give you that kind of production. And I fully believe that the Cowboys know it. I know it. You know it. Your mother knows it. Your aunt knows it.
Everyone.
That the Cowboys need a wide receiver too. That's going to be addressed this offseason. So I think Dak Prescott is a little bit undervalued right now as well, is how I would phrase it.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Dak. I do have Dak Prescott in this tier as well. So it just all depends on what big splash move Jerry's going to make to just skyrocket his value as well. Is that Bijan?
You and I have talked about that.
Is that another wide receiver? I mean, is that even a Michael Mayer that can really help him as well? There's so many options that they can go for the Dallas Cowboys, but Dak Prescott is he's a consistent guy. I think he feels really confident to be in this tier, or really good to be in this tier, and has the flexibility to move up at any time depending on who's around him.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got 2 rookies in this tier as well, and those are the final 2 rookies that I have, one being C.J. Stroud and one being Bryce Young.
Yes.
So I am taking those 2 guys at this moment over a Dak Prescott. And I don't think that's crazy to say at all. I mean, we're looking at Bryce Young. I've compared him a little bit to Kyler Murray, to Tagovailoa, Drew Brees. And when we look at Stroud, we see comparisons to Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So if he reaches that ceiling, but more realistically, a Jared Goff type player, right? Almost like a Daniel Jones type player in some aspects. So I think it's realistic to place these players here. We think they're both going to be gone within the top 5 of the NFL draft.
Yes.
And I think for these two quarterbacks specifically, we've heard it around the community. Draft capital and landing spot will be very important for a lot of people. And I think that's fair to say for us as well.
Yeah.
I currently have Bryce Young as my quarterback 1, but it's very much 1A, 1B. And I know, Badaki, you feel the same way.
Yeah.
But you have Stroud as your 1A.
I do have Stroud as my 1A. Both guys are going to be successful. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is exactly how my tier is as well, in my eyes.
Great.
So we're on the same page in tier 4.
Wow. So far on the same page. Let's see if this gets messy.
Who would have thought?
All right. In tier 3, I have Kyler Murray.
The cockroach himself.
You're such a hater. We don't need to talk about him. But look, here's the deal with Kyler Murray. You've seen it multiple years in a row that he is a top 5, top 6, top 7 fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to be fine post-surgery, and I want to bet on him long term. But I do think between Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud, it is close. And maybe to be fair, based off of the poll that we've seen recently, Kyler should be in tier 4.
I think
maybe he should, but I just think the reason I had him in tier 3 is because he's already proven that he can be that fantasy asset that you can count on. You can debate if you like him as a player or not, but as a fantasy asset that you can count on, he's already proven what we want CJ and Bryce to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of worry, in my opinion, that's coming from the fantasy community would be his rushing upside might be limited in the future. And it's not saying that he does have a lot of rushing upside. I mean, in 2021, rushed for nearly 430 yards. In 2020, he rushed for 819 yards. So like now with that injury in that ACL, is he going to become more of a pocket passer? Is he going to really be taking those opportunities to scramble and extend those plays? Not saying he won't. I think a lot of people are questioning that, especially with the new head coach, especially with the weapons that are around him. They need to invest in this offensive line. I think a lot of people are a little bit shaky on what Kyler Murray and who Kyler Murray is going to be after this injury. So
or the supporting cast.
Exactly. Yeah. I do have Kyler Murray in this tier, but like you said, I do think there's a scenario where he can be in tier 4 and there's going to be a lot of question marks, like you said, on the supporting cast that's coming around him and that ACL injury.
There are a lot of reasons to worry, but if you go back and look at this Arizona team when he was drafted, and this is no shade on Larry Fitzgerald, but Larry Fitzgerald was not at that point of his career an alpha or someone that you could be like, okay, yeah, we're going to count on this guy. But he was the best wide receiver that Kyler Murray had at that point. So we have seen him be successful with not much out there. I mean, that Cardinals team, when he was a rookie, was the worst team in the NFL. And I get where people are coming from. Maybe the rushing comes down, but this is a player who you're not drafting him just because of the rushing upside. He's got an absolute cannon for an arm, like top tier, top echelon type arm in the NFL. So I think he will transition well into that back half of his career. He's only 25. Right?
Yeah,
he's 25.
He's super young, and there's
long-term deal commitment from the team, so he'll be okay.
There's definitely opportunity for Kyler to definitely bounce back, but this team is old. James Conner, Zach Ertz. I mean, you look at this offensive line. Will Hernandez?
It's almost like you're taking a year off for Kyler, but it could probably benefit him long term with the youth that they're going to get in there.
And that's how I've been kind of explaining it. I guess just to close on Kyler Murray, this is kind of like a gap year. If you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, don't expect much of this year. And this is a 1-year rebuild based off of you already having your franchise quarterback. That's how I'm seeing it.
Every conversation when you're watching a Cardinals game this in 2023, this year is going to be, well, Kyler Murray's still recovering. He's going to be back next year, and So, all right, on to the next player. We have Deshaun Watson. Another player similar to Dak, who I think is being undervalued right now within the community. I think he's a very good buy low. such a long history of success, you don't just lose it. Like the rust was there. I think he's going to shake it off. He has the guys. He wasn't able to really be with his team. Now he's got an entire offseason to be there with his team under his head coach, to be in meetings and to really get a grasp of the offense. So I feel as if Deshaun Watson is a very, very good buy low right now. Someone that we should be actively going out and trying to buy. Such a big history of success. I mean, as a starter, has not finished outside the top 5, like a full-time starter for an entire year. He has not finished outside top 5 of fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, he's there. 2020, quarterback 5. 2019, quarterback 5. And obviously, he missed the seasons after that, or I think the year or two after that. He did miss 11 games this year, kind of like what Zach hinted.
Yeah.
He missed 11 games. He needed to get in rhythm with this offense, and that's exactly what happened. He missed 11 games, and he played 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it just actually...
It's going to take some time.
6 games. Quick maths.
Okay. On to my next player. I got 2 more players in this tier.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is where we see different, because I only have one more player.
Okay, I have Justin Fields here.
Yes, okay. So I do have Justin Fields here.
Okay, so the next player is where we're going to disagree on, but I'm very lenient on that next player. Okay, so I have Justin Fields here. Look, we have been huge Justin Fields guys all last offseason. People are telling us, why are you telling people to buy Justin Fields? This is terrible advice. We think it paid off really well for you guys who, like us, were drafting him in the 3rd round of Dynasty Startups, into the 2nd round of Dynasty Startups, feeling really confident in the talent, betting on him long-term, betting on the rushing upside that we saw. No need to really talk about Justin Fields. We know who he is. Very talented player who hopefully they're going to surround him with talent this offseason. I think it would be a mistake for Chicago to trade him. If they do, is it really going to get worse, guys?
Exactly.
Is he really going to be in a worse situation?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Where's he going? That gets worse. I mean, does he go to the Colts, who has Michael Pittman? Jonathan Taylor. Does he go to the Falcons?
Does he go to the Bucks?
Does he?
Who we've heard, the Falcons. Yeah.
I mean, there are so many other teams. I mean, does the Giants make a move? Even though that'll probably be a worse situation because we don't got no players.
Can it really get worse?
I mean, can it? So, I think sky's the limit for Justin Fields here.
Yeah, I like it. All right, the next player I have here is Lamar Jackson. I have him in this tier because I feel like it's difficult to put Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields in different tiers right now. But maybe I'm undervaluing Lamar Jackson. But for me, Lamar Jackson, I've talked about it before. Since his quarterback 1 season, every season since then, from a fantasy perspective, he has disappointed. He has not been able to stay healthy. He has not finished, I think, even top 5. So since that quarterback 1 season, I think sometimes we hold on to that a little bit too much. And yes, I understand they have not been able to give him a true wide receiver 1. But Hollywood just left. He served as that. He's had Mark Andrews. The rushing attack is where that team was really successful in. So personally, I don't think Lamar Jackson's in a different tier to Justin Fields, to Deshaun Watson, to Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray, you can make an argument because of the injury. Obviously, you prefer Lamar. Obviously, you prefer Lamar over Watson. But I think Jackson and Fields, to me, it's up in the air as far as who you want. I don't think it's all that. Between Jackson and Fields, it's very close between me, for me at least. It's almost like you're getting Lamar Jackson younger,
Right.
And Lamar Jackson, when he had his breakout season, right before it, people were saying he couldn't throw. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think Lamar Jackson has been a pretty big disappointment when you look at every season as a whole since that quarterback 1 finish, and I think. Sometimes we focus too much on that quarterback 1 finish and not what have you done for me lately. Maybe I'm overlooking it. Could be the case. But
No, I can see the thought process on Lamar Jackson. I think there's so many asterisks here. They're a run first team. Lamar was the guy until they got J.K. Dobbins. He's missed multiple games in the past 2 years.
Just on that though, they're a run first team. Who does that suit?
well, technically it's supposed to suit the running back. But Lamar Jackson,
I think that suits Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's very much suiting his game,
and I think that's why
in return is where a lot of his fantasy points have come from.
Exactly, and in return is where he lost a lot of his fantasy points just based off of those injuries. So if he was not saying he doesn't have to rush,
well, that's the player he is. Yeah. He's never going to be a pocket passer.
No,
and you have to project him moving forward. Is he 26 now? Going to be 27? You have to project him moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, will he have the Vic career arc or not? That's
right. I mean, look, I definitely see both perspectives. I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, the conversation would be, okay, what happens if he didn't miss the 5 games in the end of both seasons? 2021 and 2022, he missed. It was essentially identical to how he finished in both years. What happens with the wide receivers? Now the offensive coordinator has changed. Do we need to open up the passing game so Lamar Jackson can be? A lot of conversations saying, well, Lamar is not that true passer because he's in a run first offense. I think he can be and will be, and he is. We just haven't seen it based on in that Greg Roman offense, which now is no longer there. And now they got the offensive coordinator from Georgia. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but once again, Georgia, what we've seen, a lot of success in the running back room and the tight end room, so that actually really helps Lamar Jackson. So we need to wait and see. I still have Lamar here in tier 2 for me.
Let's say it from this perspective, just to put some cold hard facts behind what I was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2020, MVP season in 2019, quarterback 1. Since 2020, he hasn't finished higher than quarterback 8.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, higher than quarterback 9. He hasn't finished higher than quarterback 9 since 2020. And if you want to look at it from a points per game perspective, take out the entire year like you're talking about, right? Take out the entire year. Points per game since 2020. Where do you think his highest finish is?
Points per game? I mean, I would still expect him to be top 10 in a way.
Yeah, but I mean, he's quarterback 7. So yeah, top 10, but we're kind of putting him in this tier 2 with these other guys who, so let's talk about let's have a conversation then. Okay, so the next tier, right? We have Trevor Lawrence, which we're projecting based off of what we saw for the back half of the season, right? We have Jalen Hurts, who absolute freaking superstar right now in fantasy. And, a lot of people have him ahead of Justin Herbert. I have them very close, 4A, 4B. Who do you want? But we're now going to put Lamar Jackson amongst these names who have been uber successful for your fantasy team. So that's where I'm coming from. I don't hate Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying 3 years is a very big sample size. 3 years is a very big sample size. Take out those injured games. Just look at it from a points per game. In 3 years, he has not been higher than quarterback 7. And
points per game.
That's why I struggle to put him amongst those guys. I don't think he's the Jalen Hurts caliber at this very point. And, maybe that is unfair for me because Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown, right? Jalen Hurts has Devonta Smith. Justin Herbert has Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. So, and we're projecting Trevor Lawrence to be that player. I think that perfectly describes what I'm trying to say here. I think he's much more Justin Fields than he is Jalen Hurts. Where would you say he's closer to? Because we're putting these guys in tiers saying they are almost equal in value. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's difficult to kind of, the way I see it is like, okay, none of those quarterbacks that amongst his tier, yes, it happened a long time ago, they haven't finished QB1. And Lamar has done more with less. Like, you hinted on it, Justin Herbert with 2 high caliber wide receivers and a running back. Jalen Hurts with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Trevor Lawrence, not high caliber. So I think
what's Trevor Lawrence's excuse?
I think the conversation then starts with Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence. And I think Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, should be right there with Trevor Lawrence. I have them actually back to back in my rankings. But I just think that Lamar's foundation is a lot more solid. I think and he can go anywhere and be this guy, where I think it will come into question with Trevor. Because we saw the question marks year 1. It was like, okay, well, there was nobody around him. Well, Lamar never had anyone around him outside of Hollywood. Yeah. So Well, I
Yeah.
not outside of
I
Hollywood,
mean,
but he did have
you're
Mark
looking
Andrews,
at
to
Trevor
be fair.
Lawrence though right now, and he has Christian Kirk. He might have Evan Ingram. He has Travis Etienne. He's about to get Calvin Ridley at minimum. That's what he has. We don't know what Lamar's going to
And I
look
think
like.
that's why a lot of people projecting Trevor to be finishing higher
Yeah.
based off his supporting cast. And Lamar is like every single year, Lamar needs somebody. So Lamar needs somebody outside of Mark Andrews. You know, there's always
Well,
focus on the defense. There's always focus on the run game. But like the run game does suit Lamar. But we've seen it for 3+ years where it's also hurt your team, and Lamar couldn't finish the whole season. So I think there's two sides of the coin.
and I think if you have to make Lamar adjust back into his career, he's not as valuable as he was to begin it. And that's where I'm projecting. Like, we've already seen this 3-year sample size, which is longer than he's actually been in the NFL. He for the time he's been in the NFL, he has not been worthy of tier 2 more often than he has, is what I'm saying. I think he's much closer to Justin Fields than he is to Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. I will concede. I will leave him in tier 2, but I don't think he should be in that tier right now. And maybe I'm overreacting. You guys let me know in the comments below, but I just think we're focusing too much on that quarterback one season. Well, how is he going to be able to rush like he did with that quarterback one season when he's 30 years old? So, and if he does adjust and we talk about him rushing less, his value is not what it was. Like, he's not putting up as many fantasy points, but I don't know. Just one man's opinion.
I guess just to close it off, and to kind of give the other side of perspective, if he does adjust and he does lose the 140 attempts he was probably getting, 130 attempts he was getting on the ground, and he goes to more like 70, 80, half of that, but he has more passing attempts, I think that equals out in the belief that they invest in a wide receiver, or Rashad Bateman stays healthy, or they get a Parker Washington in the second, or Xavier Hutchinson in the second. You know, like, I think
Maybe.
there's so many scenarios that can happen.
We haven't seen it happen, so you have to think if he's going to have the Vic career arc. I don't think he has the same arm that Michael Vick had. I don't think he has that kind of arm talent. I think he has good arm talent. I'm not saying that it's a weakness of his, but I don't think it was like Michael Vick's. But I mean, you know, this might just be someone that we see differently, and that's okay.
For sure.
You know. Did you have anyone else in tier 2? I got T-Law there. I got Hurts there. I got Herbert. I mean, honestly, if you guys want to take Jalen Hurts ahead of Justin Herbert, then be my guest. I think it's very much 4A, 4B between those two.
Agreed. I think
if I'm doing a Dynasty start right now, I'm probably going to draft Justin Herbert, but it's very close.
Now I have
if I'm at the 105 and Jalen Hurts is there, I don't feel any worse than drafting Justin Herbert at the 104, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone else in this tier?
No, I don't.
Okay, I got Joe Burrow in tier 1.
Joe Bags.
Welcome to the big leagues, big boy. I got Josh Allen in tier 1, obviously, and my quarterback 1 for the last 5 years in Dynasty football.
Two-time Super Bowl champion.
2-time Super Bowl champion.
Wow.
Patrick Mahomes. I haven't changed up. He's been my quarterback 1 since that rookie season, and that's where he's staying for me. Do you have this in any different order that you want to discuss?
No, I think it's let me just double check. I do have Josh Allen still as my QB1, but I think once again, it's just a conversation of who you prefer. 1A, 1B. Pick your poison. Do you want Josh Allen? Do you want Patrick Mahomes? How do you feel about it? It just really depends on how you feel. But I mean, winning that Super Bowl this year definitely solidifies him, or could be the massive separator again based off how he did this year. So I'm happy either way.
I think Joe Burrow absolutely deserves to be in this conversation. I actually made this video. Remember, you were in New York on holiday. I made a updated version of these rankings a couple months ago, and I had just placed Burrow ahead of Herbert, and some people were roasting me in the comments. They were like, "How can you do that? How can you do that? Look at what Justin Herbert's done. Look at what Joe Burrow's done. He's quarterback 4 this year. He has Jamar Chase. He has Joe Burrow to build with. He's got, probably an incoming rookie running back or Joe Mixon to continue to build around. I mean, Joe Burrow, there's nothing that Joe Burrow has done to suggest that he will not be successful for a very, very, very long time. And more importantly, the play style is something that can transition. When Joe Burrow is 33 years old, he can be just as good as he is right now, if not better.
Yeah.
And that's something that you want to bet on long term. So
I would agree. Let me ask you this question. I doubt maybe you do know it. Joe Burrow probably has, when he came into the NFL, he probably started off with the best supporting cast he probably could have started with outside of offensive line. T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and he came in with his old wide receiver in Jamar Chase. I don't think
that was his second season, so he didn't get Jamar Chase until his sophomore year.
Sure,
but he had an
incredible
start.
No,
for sure. I agree that he has no doubt the supporting cast is incredible.
Like, it's crazy how he came in and changed that organization. I think I just wanted to shed light on that, how amazing it was when he came in.
100%. No, I agree. Second in passing touchdowns this year. He actually had 5 rushing touchdowns. That's something that's a little bit underrated in Joe Burrow's game. Only Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Josh Allen, and Daniel Jones had more rushing touchdowns than Joe Burrow this year.
Shout out to Danny Dimes.
We did not ever think we'd be talking about Joe Burrow as someone who's given you 5 rushing touchdowns on a season.
No.
Anyway, that is it for today, guys. I think we were very agreeable in certain points. I think the biggest point of difference for us is Lamar Jackson here.
Yeah.
I want to put him next to Fields. We'll put him next to Lawrence for now, but I can understand both perspectives. Why don't you guys comment down below? Let us know what you think. Do us a favor, drop a like to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content.
Come on.
And we will see you guys in the next video. All love.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.